STD side effects, stunted growth from teens using anabolics. Is this a real thing or not? Well, let me just give some background. So I started working out when I was 12 years old. I started working out extremely hard when I was 14 years old. As hard as a 14-year-old could possibly work out. 1 hour every day with the absolute maximum intensity that I still have yet to see anyone train as hard as I did in the gym, as I did back then, other than maybe Oxygen Gym. And then I did not suffer any stunting of my growth. I am my estimated height. So hard training and hormonal optimization, actually at that time I was doing everything I could to naturally increase my hormone levels. I was reading everything, I was taking natural testosterone boosters, I was doing my training and my diet around optimizing my hormones. Did not result in stunted growth. But actually taking anabolic steroids or performance enhancing drugs can actually reduce your height, can prevent you from reaching your full height. Trevor, what do you know about it?
So when you take them during puberty or before puberty, you're speeding the onset process just much faster. What happens is the bone plates, you always hear this, bone plates. These things, they fuse together. When you're going through your developmental stages, during puberty and after is when those things completely fuse together due to those hormones. And once that happens, there's no growing. You can take growth hormone, anything you want, there's no more growing. So if you do anyway before those bone plates are fused, it's done. I mean, it doesn't take much either because the amount of androgens are taken exogenously in the way that they're administered in the body, where you have a hormone level that's high for such a long time. It's not normal to the human body, so these side effects kick in quicker. That's why you get side effects on TRT as opposed, even when your levels are lower. That being said, even men, they can go up until they're 21 sometimes and still be growing. You know, you can still put out another inch by then. So that's why when you hear people recommend steroids saying wait till you're 21, although nowadays, especially what we talk about hormones in milk and hormones in food, you're usually done by the time they're 16, 17, 18 now. So 17, 18, and women by 15, 16. So aside from that, yeah, it's just, it's the bone plates, the fusion, the androgens. You take synthetic steroids or synthetic hormones, it's gonna happen. And the offset of androgen levels with SARMs could probably do it, but it would be so much less that they could probably get away with it. I mean, I've had guys on our football team taking the pro hormones, the Tren and Mass and all those things, and the methazine, dimethazine, and they still grew. So, you know, it's once you start getting into injectables, I believe in getting off that to the male hormone, sex hormone, is when things start to happen.
So I actually don't want to be any taller than I am. I feel like I'm the perfect height because I'm tall enough to be taller than average, 5'10", but not tall enough to be uncomfortable sitting on an airplane or things like that. So, and I would have, if I could go back in time, what I would do is I would have started taking low-dose SARMs at age 18. And I would have started taking steroids at age 21 if I was going to do steroids, although I probably would have just continued with SARMs my entire life. But if I really wanted to push it and see what I was capable of, I probably would have done a couple, after 3 years of SARMs, I probably would have done a couple steroid cycles to build some, using hyperplasia techniques to build some permanent muscle that lasts me the rest of my life as an investment in my physique. And that way I would have balance the low risk of impacting my height with the massive benefit of transforming my body for a permanent benefit.
I personally would have done secretagogues and NK from 15 up.
You would have wanted to be taller?
Well, of course. Better in fighting, better in boxing. I mean, your muscles, your bodybuilding is one thing. Yeah, of course, bodybuilders don't want to be as tall, but that's not. I mean, I don't really care about that. You can only grow wide, you can't grow taller. Yeah. But the secretagogues, just the natural growth hormone boost, you're not ruining any endogenous levels of your growth hormone. Taking advantage of that, getting the extra boost of IGF as you're younger too, that carries over. Every year you can get new cells. Every year you can do that.
Yeah.
The better.
Actually, you're right. I would have done that also, not necessarily for the height, but for while my muscle cells are still developing, to really give them an advantage, to overdevelop them, that I can keep as an asset the rest of my life. Because that's, for me, that's what it is. Everything that I do, it's not just to look good right now. It's a permanent investment in my physique and my health for the rest of my life. And there's that window of time when you're younger and you're still growing, that you have the opportunity to develop your body a certain way. For example, the best example I see of this ever is swimmers. People that swim when they're adolescents, they build this beautiful structure, this wide shoulder, this tight waist, and it's common in all the swimmers because of the way that they're using and moving their arms and stimulating their body. Well, it's the same thing. I would have liked to have structured my body a certain way. I did to an extent. I actually expanded my rib cage significantly when I was younger because I had a very small rib cage. So I did transform my body, but I wish I had access to the secretagogues at that time, because if I would have combined my rib cage expanding protocol with the secretagogues, then I would have been able to have exponential better progress.
That's funny. Yeah, I did swimming and water polo for years.
Well, it worked. Your shoulders are heck wide.
Your opinion on whether SARMs can cause gyno?
When you look at SARMs and you see that the effects, there's such little side effects, and they maybe don't really aromatize, and maybe certain doses they don't aromatize, that's true, and that wouldn't cause gyno per se. But in the human body, it's very smart, and when we talk about everything in the human body, it's always pushing for equilibrium. If you take enough SARMs, and these things have higher binding affinities than, say, testosterone, they will bind to the androgen receptor over testosterone. And what this does is all that testosterone your body was producing now, it's not going anywhere. It can start going other places. The problem that can also happen with many people, especially people that have a lot of body fat, because there's an enzyme that is stored in body fat, and it's called the aromatase enzyme. What will start to happen is when there's all this excess testosterone, the binding affinity of these androgens that you're taking is outbinding the testosterone. So your body senses this, and your testosterone's up here not doing anything. It starts going to places you don't want. One of the bad things that can happen is that aromatase enzyme, it'll start aromatizing the testosterone that's not doing anything in your body, and this excess free testosterone, and all that testosterone can start getting converted into estrogen. So the SARM per se doesn't necessarily cause gyno, but your body can start experiencing gyno because it's trying to get equilibrium, establish equilibrium. It is possible to get gyno on SARMs 100%.
Let's look at real world application. Have I seen any gyno from SARMs? If I have, I can't remember it. I've seen people getting gyno from MK677, which is growth hormone. Just like injectable growth hormone, someone can get gyno if they're predisposed to it and their receptors are activated, then it's going to cause growth of any tissue in the body, including breast tissue. Is there any other direct way that MK677 causes them missing? Oh, through prolactin, potential increase in prolactin. But SARMs don't increase prolactin. I've had tons of blood work done on SARMs saying it doesn't increase prolactin. So I'd say that it's extremely rare for SARMs to cause gyno, but it is theoretically possible based on our bodies producing testosterone, getting kicked off the receptor, and then converted to estrogen.
The last thing I would say too is that we're so new with SARMs that not many people are abusing them. I mean, there probably are some people abusing them. When Dianabol was introduced for bodybuilding, when people found out about Dianabol and its effects for that, taking 10, 15 milligrams, maybe 20 milligrams a day, how many people were getting gyno? No one. So same with the SARMs, they're only taking maybe 20 milligrams of something, 30 milligrams tops. Well, what if that threshold is a lot higher? And then once you start getting to that point, it can start causing more side effects like that. So I think we're just in the beginning stages, and it's going to take a lot more people experimenting research rather than the studies, because I don't see many studies going to be done on these types of things for a while.
PED side effects for females, body hair, facial hair, and a deeper voice in women. Yeah, this is caused by anabolic steroids primarily, because those are male hormones. The androgenic steroids, the ones that develop male characteristics, are the most likely to cause these features because these are masculine features. And the SARMs are much more anabolic and much less androgenic and much less likely to cause these androgenic side effects. That's why they were developed. This is one of the reasons why I do not allow any of my female friends, even competitors, or if they follow my advice, to ever use anabolic steroids, and instead only to use SARMs in moderate dosages. That way they have virtually no side effects depending on the dosage. But once women start getting the deeper voice and the hair, the problem is some of it will go away to an extent, but the longer that they subject themselves to that stimulation, the more permanent it becomes. So let's take the voice for an example, because I've seen the voice happen much more than I've seen the body hair happen. The body hair and facial hair is much less common than the deeper voice in women. The voice is the first and worst side effect that I notice a woman will have. And if she catches it, her voice will start cracking, just like a boy going through puberty. And that's the first sign. And if a woman stops taking that substance or cuts the dosage back immediately, there's no permanent effect. I don't see any permanent effect when they do that. The problem is, almost all women just keep taking it. And I don't know what they're thinking at the time. After the fact, they seem to justify it and pretend like they don't care so much about it. But I would care a lot about it. I mean, I find the female voice very attractive. I wouldn't want to lose that, especially when it's permanent and you might want it back later someday. Just first real quick question, do you know any way, once the vocal cords have permanently changed, the voice is deeper, is there any way that you've seen someone reverse it, yes or no?
Yes.
How do they reverse surgery? Surgery.
Oh, it's awful. It's terrible. There's no going back. How many of these people are going to actually go through surgery? That's a surgery usually say for people transitioning.
So this is one of the reasons for women I like orals much more, or very short-acting injectables, because women are taking such low dosage. Let's say they're going to take an oral steroid. They're taking such a low dosage that they're not going to suffer from any liver toxicity that's relevant. And this allows them to come off as soon as they get side effects. If they take a shot of something that lasts 3 weeks in the body and they start getting a deeper voice and they decide, oh, I don't want to keep going with this, and they stop the shot, their voice is going to continue to deepen because the substance is still in their system for 3 weeks. So I think it's really important for females to use shorter acting compounds. Now, don't worry if the voice starts cracking. You come off and it will not become permanent. But if you keep pushing it, the longer you push it, the more permanent it will become, and it will be significant. A woman's voice can become as deep as a man's voice for the same reason that a man's voice is deep. They went through puberty. They were subjected their vocal cords to androgens. Anything else to add about deepening of the voice or body hair? I didn't go over body hair much because I don't see it very often. I see it only in the women that take the really androgenic steroids, which is a very small percentage. What do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, you don't see it as much because they take care of it. It's easier to take care of right away.
You can just laser hair, I suppose.
Laser and waxing. So I saw it firsthand before with a girlfriend of mine who was taking it, and about 3 to 4 weeks or so, especially when they came off, I started seeing it big time, and that was scary. It was actually scary and sad because living with someone you can see these things.
Where did the hair grow?
On the face and arm.
Oh, that's a weird place for a woman to be.
Yeah, to have like little darker gray, black hairs here was just. It was very, sad. It was scary, but it was sad. So when that happens too, yeah, you can go back a little bit, but these things are permanent. Like what? What is the flag? I guess everyone's a competitor. Everyone has their reason to do something, but when it's permanent and it's like us. If that little gyno spot were to be like this, would you still do it? And you were gonna, you had to pay $10,000, $15,000 for surgery to get it fixed, and they're permanent. Would you still do it? So that's why I preach the SARMs. And it's not just because they're safer. They're more efficient. For whatever reason, they're much more efficient in females. And they can still get the same side effects when they up the dose.